she is. But I am Melissa Smith. I am the founder of Balance and Bloom, and I am a certified health and wellness coach. And I specialize in one on one coaching on corporate wellness and then also athletic wellness. So, anybody that's in a leadership position that is looking for some type of help with goals, I'm your girl.
That's awesome. Now, what had you to go into this field, Melissa? Was there a need? Did you notice that leaders, people needed help? What drove you to be doing what you're doing now?
There is this movement that is going on right now with, so I'm 46 years old, and this age group is at the point where we no longer want to struggle to climb a ladder, where we no longer feel like we need to prove ourselves. But we still want to be successful and we still want to have careers that we enjoy. And so I started health coaching because I was in corporate for a very, very, very long time. And so that's where I feel like I can really resonate with leaders and people in the corporate environment and some of the struggles that they have, and coach them in health and wellness, because what's happening is they are not taking care of themselves. And so I'd love to be that person that is that sounding board, that person that asks them questions that they've never thought of the answers to, and that person that's paying attention to them and listening to them as they're speaking, not just waiting to speak.
That's amazing. And I always say to people that the best people to help you are the people who's been through it. Melissa has been in corporate. When I met her, she was in corporate and still doing her health and wellness stuff and getting herself equipped and ready to serve the world. And here she is now, ready to serve you. I tell people, don't preach to the choir if you've not been a member of the choir. So, for example, myself, I started my very first business at the age of 25. It was a shoe store and it failed. My mom advised me not to do it. But of course, the optimistic person I am, I got it done anyways. And you know what? At the time that it failed, did I beat myself up? I did. But I am so happy that it failed. You know why? The lessons I learned from my first business failure
Mm,
equipped me for having or leading five-star boutique hotels later in life. It
that's right.
taught me leadership skills, decision making skills, time management skills, skills that are priceless, empathy, leading with a heart and helping people out. So here we are today. Let's get right into our topic, why leaders struggle to ask for help and the hidden impact on your body. Now, for those of you joining us tonight, I see we have a few people who are founders, who are business owners. As business owners ourselves, as leaders ourselves, as founders, it is so easy to get caught up in that trap because of the everyday struggles. Some of us have young children. Some of us are caught up between housework, house chores, taking the kids to school, and trying to ensure that people know about our business. We do the marketing, we do the time management, we do finances, we do everything by ourselves without asking for help. And the only way we can be successful in our business is to ask for help. Melissa, why do you think leaders struggle to ask for help?
I think it used to be and probably could still be a badge of honor for leaders to say, I was up all night working on this proposal, or I sat at my desk all day long. I was in just back-to-back meetings and I wasn't able to, eat all day long. And before, that used to be something that told others this person must be important. That's not the world that we live in anymore. It's no longer a badge of honor, because what's happening is, there's this silent drift that's happening with leaders. And what I mean by that is one day you're sitting at your desk and you skip lunch because you've had too many back to back meetings. And then it happens again the next day. And then it happens again. And then after a few months, you've now gone 3 months without eating, maybe at all day. And before you know it, you establish these unhealthy habits. Now it's not something that you're really recognizing off the bat. You're just not eating lunch. But what does that create? That creates maybe more calories at dinner. That creates snacking on unhealthy and making unhealthy choices. Not eating anything really slows down your metabolism, so that increases cortisol. It You're not really recognizing it because all you're thinking to yourself is, I'm just trying to get work done. I'm just trying to do the best I can for my company. But you are going farther and farther away from shore. And so, what you need to do is just notice that this is happening so that you can make your way back.
And what you're saying is so important because I remember I have two businesses, and as you know, and my side business is a clean, non-toxic, organic candle line. And during Christmas time, which is of course one of the busiest times of year for most of us, or many of us, or all of us, and I found myself not only trying to juggle the two businesses, but focusing a lot on the candle business because, of course, that's the time most consumers would be buying candles.
Mhm.
And I would move from one farmer's market or one pop up to another. And I had sent out Christmas invitations to family members to be home for Christmas dinner. And Melissa, it was 2 days before Christmas. And there I was at a pop up, making money, smiling at customers, but my body was shutting down because I was
Mhm.
getting tired.
Mhm.
And thank goodness I had the hindsight to be able to notice that because a lot of us go on without even noticing until it's a bit too late.
Right.
And I had to step back and say to myself, God, I this is what it is. I am going to stop selling candles from today. This was 2 days before Christmas. And had I not realized that, had I not had the hindsight to notice that I needed to step back, trust me, my family members and friends would have been here on Christmas night and we would not have had dinner
Mm.
because I would not have taken the time out for myself to reset and to rejuvenate, to refocus on that particular time. I
Mhm.
would not have taken that time to realize that I needed to do Christmas shopping to feed my family. So, this is what, when we do not ask for help, these are the things that happens. And Melissa, my next question to you, why do you think that most, or what are the most common physical symptoms you see in leaders as you work with people? You see in leaders under chronic stress because we know when we do not take time out, when we do not ask for help, what happens? Stress will creep in. So, what do
Absolutely.
you think are some of the most common physical symptoms for people who are here with us tonight that they can understand or notice those symptoms and take action to make sure that they are not suffering from burnout or they are not falling into that trap?
Pamela, this is something that we really, really have to remember. Our body is going to whisper to us before it screams.
Can
And
you
you,
just take a moment and say this slowly?
our bodies whisper before they scream. If you're hearing any of these next symptoms that I'm going to go over, this is your little whisper. This is something that you should take notice to, just like your example when you said to yourself, I need to stop this. You heard the whisper and you listened to it. So, the first thing I need to do is just distinguish between stress and chronic overwhelm. Okay. Because a lot of people say, I'm very stressed out right now. I'm very stressed out right now. But stress can be a good thing to us, right? So if we are learning a new language, if we are in the middle of a proposal that's going to come to an end soon, if we are taking on a new class, or if we've started a new career, these are all things that will, put stress on our bodies, but they will come to an end. There will be a reward. When you get done with a class, you get, a new degree. When you get done with learning a language, now you are bilingual. So there are rewards, and it's okay for your body to feel a little bit stressed. And so stress in that way that is not chronic and not bad for you could be, a lack of sleep. It could be that you get a little bit of brain fog. It could be, a little less joy in things because you are feeling like a little bit stressed at the time. But again, stress will come to an end. The difference, the opposite end of that, is chronic overwhelm. Chronic overwhelm does not come to an end. So you'll feel a lot of those things in your body that I mentioned, but they don't go away. So it may be a lack of sleep, but it's a lack of sleep every single night where you're waking up at 2, 3 o'clock in the morning and you can't go to sleep because of your racing thoughts. And so that lack of sleep is really hurting, your day. Also, panic attacks is something to really, really pay attention to, or heart palpitations. This is your body screaming. You're past the point of the whispers if you're starting to feel these things. Feeling detached from family or coworkers. Maybe you used to get together with your neighbors for a game night, and over the past few months, you're just not in the mood. All you want to do is sit at home and watch TV by yourself. You don't want to be social. You have thoughts like, you know what, I don't really care. Very hopeless thoughts where you can't see the light at the end of the tunnel. This is your body screaming, and this is where you need to start noticing what types of things are happening to you to cause this.
Wow, thank you, Melissa. I do hope that my audience or our audience, they're taking notes because that's very important. Too many times I receive calls from my friends, my peers, to share with me the disturbing news of someone that we knew, someone that we probably saw the day before, are either
Mhm,
hospitalized or have passed away. And
mhm.
so today, what we're sharing is of great importance. I know some of us sometimes take these things lightly, but they are really not meant to be taken lightly. Thank you, Melissa. My next question is, why do high achieving people ignore their body's warning signs? Because, I mean, is it that we, like you said in the at the beginning, is it that some people are looking for a badge of honor? Why do you think a lot of high achieving people are ignoring their body's warning signs?
I think it's the badge of honor. I think they may not know what to do. Sometimes I have an example of an acquaintance who has just a lot of warning signs. The brain fog, the sleeplessness, the a lot of headaches, daily headaches. And this person has been to every doctor, specialist, anyone out there. And everyone says, we can't find anything wrong with you. But there is a reason that they have headaches, chronic headaches, and it's due to stress, but they won't admit it. And so sometimes it's admitting it to themselves to say, I they say I exercise, I eat right for the most part, I drink a little bit of alcohol, but this person works nonstop. They're constantly, in business meetings and flying all over the place, and just they have a really great job and they enjoy it, but they're not taking the time out to take care of themselves. And if there's nobody that can find anything wrong with you, chances are it's stress. And if you just take a couple, measures to notice what's going on, and change, make a few lifestyle tweaks, those headaches would probably go away.
Wow. Wow. Because I was just about to ask, why are the doctors not able to diagnose her or diagnose him? But then you've answered that question. If they are not able to diagnose the problem, it means more than likely it's pointing at stress.
Mhm.
So pretty much what we're saying tonight is ask for help, because asking for help will help you with what you're going through in your lives. Too many times we're taking on the whole world. We are trying to save the world, especially us as women. I am thinking it's easier for men to ask for help than for women to ask for help, because we think we are here to save the world. We're housewives, mothers, we're working on a job. Sometimes we have multiple jobs trying to make ends meet, and we tend to forget ourselves. We tend to forget to ask for help. For those of you who's just joining us, please feel free to share this live with others, because our great special guest tonight, Melissa Smith. She is a health and wellness coach. She works with corporate leaders. She works individually with people, and she will be able to help you if you're going through a stressful situation. Tonight's topic is why leaders struggle to ask for help and the hidden impact on the body. And you've heard one of the impacts that she's mentioned is one of stress. My next question, Melissa, is what happens in the body when someone finally slows down or asks for help? So, take for example my situation. I shared with you what I was going through during the Christmas period.
Mhm.
And I was just going. Thank God I did not get to the point where it was going, gone. I
Right.
had,
Yeah.
I had, I had the realization and the discernment to see that I needed to take a few steps back and analyze the situation. But what happens in the body? What happened in my body then when I finally slowed down? Or because I did not ask for help, but I slowed down, which was help in and of itself. Because
Mhm.
I can tell you how I felt. The days following, I felt so peaceful. I
Mhm.
felt so relaxed. Initially, when I first stopped, I felt fatigued. I felt so tired. Because, of course, when you're going and without stopping and you finally stop, the fatigue catches up with you. So I
Mhm.
stopped. I first felt really tired, and then I went into that place of stillness. So, share with us what happens to the body then.
You are 100% with the first thing that will happen. And you said it. It's that calm feeling. And a lot of people don't experience that. People think that there are basically two emotions. You're either, stressed out and unhappy or happy and joyful. But there are a lot in between. And in between comes calmness. Calmness happens from taking care of yourself, calmness comes from meditation, it comes from mindfulness. And people think that you want to strive for happiness, but that's not necessarily the thing that we want to do. Happiness is a place that we can be, but it also will come to an end. Calmness is a place where you just feel satisfied. You're in the moment. And that's a very, very good, healthy place to be where you're just in the moment, going about your business, making your Christmas dinner, thinking about the guests that you're going to have over. So calmness is the first thing that happens when you ask for help and you your body starts to regulate, your nervous system starts to regulate. So if you felt maybe a little bit moody or testy with, friends or your husband or a family member, mood swings are very prevalent when you are stressed out because you can't really handle things as well as you normally would. So you'll have less mood swings if you do get that help that you're asking for. And one of the biggest things I think, because it's aesthetics, is the your cortisol levels. So your cortisol is your stress hormone. And cortisol is a lot of times it shows up around our middle sections, our stomachs. And as we get older, those might get a little bit bigger from unhealthy eating habits, from lack of sleep, but also from increased cortisol due to stress. So if you're looking to kind of, if one of your New Year's resolutions this year is to lose some of that belly fat, ask for help so that your system can regulate and that cortisol can go down.
Wow, thank you, Melissa. You're just unpacking nuggets of wisdom. You know, recently I was reading an article that was late last year, and what caught my attention was about cortisol and how when someone is stressed, you release cortisol.
Mhm.
And that article stated clearly that when you are stressed, the substance cortisol that you release can be passed on to the people around you. I
Mm.
was shocked because it means that you can pass on your stress. If we are releasing that substance through our bodies into the air, into the people around us, it means that we can pass on that stress to somebody else, to our family members, to our children, to our partners, to our friends, to our colleagues. Hence, it is so important that we keep our level of stress down, because not only is it affecting us, but it's also affecting the people around us.
You are 100% on point. In fact, this just happened to me yesterday. I am a basketball coach for my 11-year-old son, and I misread the time that we were supposed to be at the game. And so we kind of flew out of the house very, very quickly and drove to the game. And when we got there, it was just about to start. And my stress level was up here as the head coach, thinking I'm late, I'm bringing my son late, and the entire team, I could they could all feel it because we started off the game very poorly. And I
Wow.
said to myself, I need to bring it down, I need to regulate, I need to just chill out. I did some box breathing, which I'll talk about soon, but that really helped. And you could tell because then the team started doing better. You could tell the energy levels were back to normal, but you are completely on when you say that your energy is magnetic to those around you.
It is. It is. My next question to you, the time is going by so quickly. Can you
It
imagine
is.
it's
It
already
is.
25 minutes to 7 and we want to end at 7? So, my next question, and after I have asked you those questions, I will open up the floor to anyone, any questions that our audience may have. So please, audience, take note. You have someone that you can ask questions about health related. She's a health and wellness coach. She can guide you. Please don't miss out on this opportunity. My next question to you is, what's one daily practice leaders can start tonight to reduce stress? And not necessarily leaders, but anyone listening to us tonight.
The easiest thing to do is practice mindfulness. And some may be aware what mindfulness is and others may not. The special thing about mindfulness is there's two, and most people relate or think about the formal practice of mindfulness. And they think about somebody sitting down, maybe on a yoga mat or in a comfy chair, and they're sitting with their eyes closed and they're breathing for, 10, 20 minutes. A lot of people say they don't have 10 or 20 minutes, and we get that, especially leaders. They just don't have any extra time to do that. So, in my coaching practice, I do recommend a lot of informal practices that do the same amount of regulation of your nervous system and has all the benefits of a formal practice. And so, the first thing that I would say is to learn how to box breathe. And it's very, very simple. And so you can do this when you're sitting at a stoplight. Takes no extra time. Instead of changing the channel on the radio or instead of, thinking about what's coming up ahead, you can practice box breathing. And all it is you're taking a breath in for 4, and then you're holding it for a count of 4, and then you're letting it out slowly for a count of 4, and then you're just sitting still for a count of 4. Just me doing that right now, I felt my whole body just decompress doing it one time.
Should we practice this now?
Yes, that would be great. That would be great.
I
Okay.
think that would be a great exercise for not just us, but with our audience as well. So let's go.
And if you're at a stoplight, notice how tight you're holding the steering wheel. If you're stressed out, you might be holding it very, very tightly. So the first thing you want to do is let go of the steering wheel. You want to just relax your shoulders, unclench your jaw. If you're not driving, feel free to sit at your desk and do this as well. Then you can close your eyes. And so what you'll do is just take a nice deep breath in through your nose for 4 counts. And then you'll hold it for 4. And then you'll let it go slowly out of your mouth for 4. And then you sit still for a count of 4. And each time that you practice that, you are going to feel just a wave of peace and calm. So let's do it one more time. In for 4, hold for 4, out for 4, and calm for 4. This is something that you can practice if somebody just cut you off and you have a little bit of rage, or this is something that if you are being hurried because you're late for something, if there's nothing you can do and you're sitting at a stoplight, this is something you can do to regulate your nervous system. And try to not let your mind move from your breathing. The purpose of mindfulness is to be in that exact moment. And the other thing that I would mention besides mindfulness is my term for it is a micro spark. So let's pretend that you're sitting at a stoplight, and you look to your left and you see a field, and in it are deer, a whole family of deer. That to me would be a micro spark. That's something that I see that makes me stop in my tracks, that makes me think nice thoughts, it makes me happy. So when you're sitting somewhere in your car, or you're sitting on a park bench, or you're noticing things that give you joy, those are little micro sparks. Those are also something that will regulate your nervous system and make you feel joyful.
Wow, thank you for sharing this. So, in other words, you're telling us to just take a moment and smell the roses around us. Pretty
Yes.
much,
Yes.
because we are so busy running around from the time we wake up until we go to bed that sometimes we miss those roses.
Mhm.
Sometimes they may be beautiful ones, those that are just blooming, those that are fading, but even those that are fading are very pretty in and of themselves. But if we are so busy, we do not even see those roses. Far less taking time out to smell those roses. Melissa, thank you. I have another question for you. I really enjoyed this exercise, just so you know, and I will practice it. I will practice it before I go to bed. So I
Good.
have a daily, I don't call my what I do on a daily basis a routine. I find it's a lot so much more meaningful and
Mm.
deeper than a routine. I have called it and I named it a ritual. So I will definitely incorporate the, how do you call the breathing? The box
Box
breathing?
breathing,
I
box
will
breathing.
definitely incorporate box breathing into my daily rituals. Thank you
Excellent.
for those of you who are now joining us. We have a special guest tonight. Her name is Melissa Smith, and Melissa is a health and wellness coach. Tonight, our topic tonight is why leaders struggle to ask for help and the hidden impact that it has on our bodies. And when we say leaders, you don't need to be a corporate leader. If you're a mom, you're a leader. You're a housewife, you're a leader. You're a colleague, you're a leader. You're a friend, you're a leader. You're a husband, you're a leader. You're a wife, you're a leader. A leader does not necessarily, or is not necessarily someone in corporate going up at a 9 to 5 job every day. My next question, Melissa. How do you think leaders can tell the difference between normal stress and harmful stress? Is there even such a thing as normal stress and harmful stress?
Going back to the conversation that we had about stress and overwhelm, stress can be okay on our bodies. So, another example of this would be somebody that's training for some type of race. You're in a triathlon or you're training for a marathon. That will add some extra stress to your body and your mind, right? But that stress will end once the race is over and you get the reward. You get that reward of adrenaline, of that high that you get after you get done with the race. And so that stress then will melt away. But the chronic overwhelm is something that will not go away. It's when your days are all scheduled for you. And we've all been here before. It doesn't matter what you do for a living, you've had a day like this. So, for
Yes.
example, you get up in the morning and run out the door to your job or to a meeting or to something that's scheduled for you. And you get there and maybe you have back-to-back meetings all day, and then at night you have other scheduled plans with maybe it's sports or maybe it's food shopping that you have to get done. And so you go and you run around and you do that, and it's 9 o'clock at night and you just fall into bed exhausted. Imagine having days like that back to back to back where it never ends. And then on the weekends, when you're not working, you have laundry, you have food shopping, you try to cram in maybe getting together with friends so that you can get some of that community contact in. Again, being overscheduled. And what happens is that there's no end to that. And so, that example that I gave where your hands are very, very tight on the steering wheel, your hands are so tight on the steering wheel, and now you can't see what's in front of you because you're just going, 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 and there's no stop. That's when things start to get dangerous. And that's when you really need to take notice. And one thing that you can do if you're in this situation is make one decision a day for yourself. And it can be as simple as I'm making my bed today. I'm making my bed. Or at after lunch, I'm going out for a 10-minute walk. I don't care what happens. I don't care, where I'm at, I'm going to take that walk today. By making one decision yourself today, you can fight a little bit of that chronic overwhelm because it's something that you've done, a decision that you've made for yourself that nobody's scheduled for you. And if you can make one decision a day, that chronic overwhelm should dissipate a little bit.
Wow, thank you. That's very impactful. If I may share, one thing that worked for me is asking for help. I
Mhm.
remember having a corporate job managing a five-star boutique hotel. And, being a general manager, that's a lot on my plate, on one person's plate. You have, on any given day, between 19 to probably 20 something, depending on the size of the organization, managers and leaders reporting to you. You have a whole establishment to run. You have guests. You have customers, you have stakeholders, you have owners. And so at one time, I thought, I could have done it all. So I would run home from work. Maybe someone has picked up my daughter from school. Maybe my nieces are already at home. So maybe before I left home that day, I had time prepare something that by the time we get back home, we would sit down and have dinner, because dinner time was for me a very big thing at home, because that's the time I can sit at the table and hear stories and what happened during the day. Well, at some point, I just thought I could do it all until I got to the realization and noticed that I couldn't.
Mm,
Because when you try to do it all as a leader, another area will be suffering. There will be one area or even two that may not be getting the full attention that it should be getting, and it will suffer. And so, what I had to do on a weekend, I had to get hired help. I
mm,
had to invest in a cleaner. Now, if you know me, I love wearing beautiful clothes, so I would not have had the or ask the helper to do my laundry. But she came in and she cleaned the house on a Saturday. And so that was my time. I would use that time to drop my daughter off at swimming, spend time with the girls, have some maybe breakfast, lunch, just go girls shopping. And all of that are ways to reduce stress, because there I had one less task to worry about. And so sometimes, as leaders, as founders, as business owners, especially small business owners, we have a lot on our plate, and we try to make sure that we eat every item on our plate. But sometimes it's okay to share some of these items. I know sometimes you might say it's hard. I'm not making the money to invest in a cleaner. But you might be surprised that if you spend $50, maybe you cannot invest in a cleaner every Saturday. But you can say, you know what? Maybe once a month just for deep cleaning. So I will release my time to focus on something else whilst the cleaner do something else. One other example, as small business owners, as founders, a lot of the times we do the marketing, the financing, and everything else. You can invest in an intern. There are lots
mm.
of college graduates, college interns, high school interns that are better at social media marketing, marketing in and of itself, that you can say, okay, I will give you a stipend to help me create this. You're releasing your time to do something else, to focus on you. Maybe at that time you can do a soak, you can do anything. But asking for help has been very, very, very rewarding for me. What about you, Melissa?
You are very right. And I wanted to share a story about the same thing. I have, this might be a spot where somebody that's on right now could use help and could use a health and wellness coach's help. I had a client who came to me because they felt like there was a purpose that they were missing out on, but they didn't have the time. They didn't have the
Right,
time to think about what their purpose was. And so, we had a couple sessions, and it turned out that in order for her to even dive into her purpose, she needed to find more time. And by doing that, she came up, and this is where a health coach is different a little bit than a therapist, where a health coach never gives advice. All they do is ask the questions to lead the client to find their own answers. That's the most important thing. Everybody has their own answers internally. Sometimes you just need help, pulling out those answers. So she came up with the idea that she would ask her son and her husband to help out with the chores. So if you picture a pie, she was doing all the things at home. She was doing the laundry, the dinner, the cooking, the scheduling, the appointments, the everything like a
wow,
lot of us women take on, right? She was smart like you, and she decided to ask them for help. And she then divided that pie into thirds. And now she was doing a third, her husband was doing a third, and her son is doing a third. And
wow.
I just caught up with her, And she said it is working out magically. And now she has more time. Her husband and her son were on board. She came up with a great, board to show in the house and a system of rewards. And, it just worked out well for everybody. So you're right. When you need more time, it's best to ask for it and start with your friends and family first.
Like the old saying goes, charity begins at home.
That's
Now,
right.
Melissa, I noticed that one of the most important factors in our lives as a parent, as a mother, as a partner, as a friend, that tend to hold us back from asking for help is that little thing, which can be a big thing, called guilt.
Mm,
Guilt is one of the most dangerous. We all say fear, but even guilt leads to fear. It creates fear in us. So, for example, you're a mother, you're always taking your son to practice, you're his basketball coach. Maybe the one day you're not able to take him, you're not able to escort him or, accompany him. That one day out of the whole month, you might start feeling guilty. Oh my God, did I let the ball drop? Did I do this? Did I do that? I believe that one of the biggest shifts in understanding that asking for help is not a weakness, it's a leadership strategy. And if we were to look at the people around us, the millionaires, the billionaires, they focus on one, two, or three things, and they have people helping them in all other areas. Why do you think guilt is one of the biggest factors? Is it a mindset that we just can't let go? What exactly is it?
I do think it's a mindset. One of the best books I ever read, what it was, and I read it. I actually want to reread it for the third time. Is Don't Believe Everything That You Think.
Okay. I like
Our
that.
our brains are constantly overthinking, constantly giving us that guilt, putting us in, making us think stressful thoughts. And so that guilt, it might start like this, but then it continues to weigh on you because you think about it more and more and more, and it starts to snowball. And so my recommendation for guilt is change the channel. And
Wow.
it's as simple as you start to think a guilty thought that is not healthy for you and is not real. If it's not 100% real, it's not real. It's a made up thought.
True.
I couldn't drop off my son at basketball practice because I was at work, and oh no, I feel guilty because now he's going to feel upset. Well, did he tell me that
Mm-hmm.
he's upset? Well, is it really going to impact him that much, or am I just believing that? I'm making that thought up. So if it's not 100% real, it's not real. And so if you have that guilty thought, you just change the channel, and you think about something that's joyful. You look for those micro sparks. You do something, that changes the channel in your way of thinking.
Thank you for sharing that. One practice that I've incorporated in my life for several years now, which has worked really well for me, um, like you said, change the channel. But sometimes what I do, I cancel the channel. So
Mm,
sometimes when I would have, as anything else, we know research has proven that human beings will have 60 to 70 ups and some people up to 80,000 thoughts going through our minds on any given day.
mm-hmm,
And how can we control that? That is so many thoughts to try and control.
mm-hmm.
And so I read a lot. And I may have picked up this practice from reading a book, but I incorporated it in my life a very long time ago and it works. So anytime a negative thought would cross my mind and I recognize it, I would shout out loud, cancel, cancel, cancel. I would say it 3 times. And if I have said it 3 times and that thought is still lingering, I would ask myself, why are you having this thought? Why is it repetitive? What is causing it? And I will get into the root cause and cancel it once and for
Mm.
all.
Mm-hmm. That's an
Yes,
excellent practice. I like
yes,
that. Having it's an anchor phrase. It's something that makes you change the channel. It makes you think differently. It makes you kind of say to yourself, wait, why am I thinking this way?
yes, yes. Now the time is going by, so I'm going to take a few minutes
Sure.
to hear if our audience has any questions. Any questions, please feel free to write it down in the comment section. We will give you a few seconds, maybe a minute even, to ask any questions that you would like, whether it's the question is for me or for our guest, Melissa. So go ahead. You have all the time. You please, that's your opportunity. Ask the question.
Don't be afraid because chances
So,
are, if you have the question, somebody else has the question as well.
don't be afraid. Please ask. We are very grateful to have you on this live with us. So please ask any question that you wish to ask. You have a health coach. Make the
Or
best of the opportunity.
a topic that you might want to see us talk about in the future. We can do this again, and maybe there's something else that you're curious about, and something in the leadership field, some that Pamela can talk about, something that would combine leadership and health and wellness, just like this topic.
Excellent point. Well, I guess no questions, so we will move on. Before we close, I have just one final question, Melissa. Um, what's one practical step that you can share with our audience that you can say we can take this week to enlighten our load? As we spoke about it at the beginning of this live, that on any given day, especially us as women, we wear so many different hats. What can you what would be the what is the takeaway? What can we take away with us today that can help us enlighten our load?
I would say the word that would sum up our entire conversation would be notice. Noticing. Notice how we feel. Notice what our body is saying. Notice if we're getting a lot of headaches, if we're feeling tense or stressed. Noticing is very important, and it's a part of mindfulness. So I would say, that would be this week. Notice something, notice a micro spark, notice how you feel, notice how it feels to take that sip of coffee in the morning instead of just drinking your cup down and not even thinking about it, and now it's empty. So I would say, take this week to notice something.
Thank you. Melissa, I can't thank you enough for your time. We will wrap up now. Thank you, everyone who joined us on this live. Before we leave, I want to say tonight's conversation was a reminder that leadership was never meant to be done alone. As human beings, we were not meant to do life alone. And so, if you heard something that hit home tonight, take it as a sign that you deserve support. You deserve clarity and space to breathe. You don't have to keep carrying everything by yourself. If you want guidance on how to lead without burning out, send me a message. Send Melissa a message. Melissa's Instagram account. Melissa, please share with our audience.
Sure, it's balance and bloom now. Balance and bloom now.
Thank you, Melissa. And I believe most of you who joined us are already following me. If you're not, my name on Instagram is Pamela M. Robinson. I post daily inspiration. And if you need to reach out to Melissa, please reach out to her at Balance and Bloom Now. It is a new year. It is 2026. We're trashing out the New Year resolutions. We're taking action. And taking action can be small steps, it can be baby steps, but toward the right direction. So it's about clarity this year and it's about intention. And if you focus on clarity and intention, it means you're putting your health and wellness, you're putting yourself first. That's the only way you can lead with clarity and intention, if you put yourself first. Melissa, again, thank you for your time. It's
Thank
been
you.
very inspiring to have you on this live with me tonight, and I am looking forward to hosting another live with you again soon.
Thank you, Pamela. Thank you for everything.
You're welcome. And thank you, my audience. As we say, you could have been anywhere else, but you decided to spend that time with Melissa and I, and we are truly grateful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Melissa, before you leave, I want to just get a quick picture. So,
Okay.
all right, let me take my glasses off and try this again. I think I have a nice screenshot. Thank you, Melissa,
All
and have a
right.
good Sunday evening. And I
Thank
am
you.
wishing everyone a wonderful week. Is there anything you want to leave with the audience before I end?
Nope, I'm all good. If you liked what you heard, please follow me as well at Balance and Bloom now. Thanks.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.